Hello?
Okay, guys. Hey, everyone. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. So I'm Joe Ventura. I'm the founder and CTO of AlphaPoint. So I'll give you a little bit of a backstory of myself and then dive into the company a little bit. Basically, about 4 years ago or so, I was working here in New York for Deutsche Bank. We were working on the risk management software that they had. And they had a pretty serious issue where the risk profiles that managers wanted to run, their database solution was just too slow, and the order flow that the traders were pumping into the system was basically exceeding the rate at which they could calculate risk, right? So I joined the team, we rewrote their database, kind of like a whole new way to kind of do analysis on the data, and we were able to bring it back to real time, significantly help the company. So after that project was finished, one of my friends started a company in San Francisco, a security company. I go out there to join him to help him. We had a pretty quick acquisition, and I just decided, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I'm thinking I'm going to just take like a breather for about 6 months, a year, see what happens, right? As a geek, I'm always kind of playing with like the latest and greatest things, like just kind of putting my hands and touching things, just kind of trying to check stuff out, right? And I came across Bitcoin. Bitcoin, this is about 2 years ago. Bitcoin is like, it's really weird, interesting, magic internet money, right? I think the world's largest exchange actually at the time was Mt. Gox, which stands for Magic the Gathering Online Exchange. Probably the story of like the best pivot that any company in the world can do. They were first trading like online game cards, and then they pivoted to this digital currency stuff. Blew up into like super profitable business. I don't know if you guys know this, and then it just crashed and burned. But anyways, like really exciting story. So, I had a little bit of like a trader instinct in me, and I, got a trading account on Mt. Gox. I was trading, and also a couple of the other exchanges. And I realized like, hey, there's a really big gap between like the tools that I'm using here and what I'm used to seeing professionals use in New York. And I figured, I think I could do better. And I really like this idea and the vision of what Bitcoin is. And what is it? It's like this borderless currency. It's kind of like gold, right? A government doesn't back gold. It's the network of people. I'm sure all you guys here, the ladies, love gold. Why is that? Because we were kind of bred, we somehow think it has value. Is it the most rare metal? No, it's not. But we would usually choose gold over even another metal that could be even rarer because we know what gold is. Well, Bitcoin is similar. There's hundreds of altcoins out there. Bitcoin's by far the most popular. It has a network, and because it has a network, it has this value. You can go around and solicit people that they might actually accept Bitcoin. The same way that they accept their dollars or pesos or whatever currency we come up with. So, I basically thought, hey, let's try to bring like institutional class systems to the current environment of Bitcoin. So I started working on a platform, kind of as a hobby, never stopped, so here I am today. Our vision first started as that, and then it quickly evolved to, hey, every country in the world, there's 182 national currencies, and they all have like countries. Sometimes multiple countries use the same currency, like in Europe, right? So what I figured is, as this being this borderless kind of currency, we need to have at least a system, whether it's a broker or an exchange or some like money transfer system, to be able to allow the people and businesses in that specific country to transact between their local currency and Bitcoin. So right now, AlphaPoint has about 20 clients in 15 different countries, right? Our goal is to have every single country. We're still very small. We only have 14 employees, and we do about $300 million a month through our platform, which is very small compared to maybe like traditional exchanges, but given like the whole Bitcoin scene is kind of small, this is about 40% of the Bitcoin to US dollar transactions. So This is the reason why Bitcoin is super cool. It's kind of like the internet. I see the internet as a protocol, kind of like a language. The English language is a protocol. You can learn it, you can use it, you can conduct business in it. Bitcoin is the same thing, right? Someone can make a website, they use a TCP protocol, they use the HTTP protocol. In Bitcoin, the lowest level protocol is not the networking layer, it's rather the blockchain. And what the blockchain is just like any financial institution, what's so important? It's the ledger, right? How much money comes in, how much money goes out. It's very, very, very simple. It's just a very basic accounting system that's a list of the transactions that are happening. If you start from the top and start processing the list down, you can figure out everyone's balances. So this is what Bitcoin is. But since it's an open protocol and anyone can add messages to the system, it means that people can make new applications on top. And I mean anything. So the first application is the money concept. Let's send money from one person to another. I think some of the future and near-term applications will be everything from escrow, contracts, deeds. We could see wills baked into the kind of Bitcoin platform. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Bitcoin. It's just this blockchain technology that's actually the killer app. And we'll see a lot of spin-offs of blockchains. I know there's a lot of financial institutions today kind of trying to harness this blockchain tech and like build a new application on top of it, right? And we'll say that Bitcoin is like the first app on it. It's also open source. So pretty much any developer can like peer through it, modify it, come up with their new idea, so they don't have to start from the ground level of it. So it's pretty badass. Okay, so let's see. 3 years. Okay, so we've seen about 0 transactions to 25 million annual transactions in 3 years. So we've had some pretty healthy growth. I personally think this is going to continue probably for another decade or so. Pretty quick growth, and the main reason is because it's an open network, not because it's a closed network. Closed networks rely on companies to like really advertise and push the product a lot. Like Visa and MasterCard wouldn't be who they are unless if they solicited all these institutions to get it. Maybe they hit a critical kind of tipping point and then all the institutions came to them. With Bitcoin, it's kind of the opposite. Geeks like myself and like other engineers or other entrepreneurs that are kind of on the cutting edge, they can leverage this platform in the same way that like when the internet first came out, we didn't have web browsers, and then somebody had this idea like, hey, maybe we can make a web browser, have a document that's like HTML, and it could like describe pictures. And I remember Netscape had this like link tag, like stuff like that, and this helped us like get to where we are today. Again, these are the super early days. FX does 5.3 trillion a day. Bitcoin exchanges only do 12 billion a year. So we think that there's a lot of growth. Because of that, like, I would say that if you're a little bit of a risky investor and want to take the risk, now is probably not a bad time to do it. So these are about some of our clients. I'll start from the rightmost. Bit, pretty innovative client. I think they're launching next month. They designed this awesome user interface. I'm really proud of them. They are launching the first digital currency exchange in the Caribbean region. And I think there's like 6 or 7 national currencies. Actually, every single island there has their own little currency. It's kind of ridiculous. Imagine like you live on one island and you kind of go to the other island, 2 minutes. Okay, cool. And it's like now you have like another currency, right? So what they're doing is they're allowing people to transact all the island currencies to Bitcoin, which should like help unify that environment a little bit. When the guy like talked to me, he was so pissed off, saying, Joe, we don't even have PayPal here. He's like, we're a stone's throw away from Miami, and I can't even buy something on eBay. And I was like, man, all right, relax. PayPal is actually adding Bitcoin as a deposit mechanism to to their system. So maybe an islander can buy Bitcoin and then deposit into a PayPal account, so now they have US dollars, and then they can buy something like eBay. So it's a gateway. CoinTrader is Canada, MexBT, one of the first exchanges in Mexico. They transact in pesos. Bitfinex is the world's largest BTC USD exchange. They selected our platform because we are badass. We can do about 1 million transactions a second. We have really advanced security. I don't have time to get into it. HFT ready, and we support pretty much any product. This next quarter, we're adding futures and options and margin lending support, which is pretty badass. From the advanced order types, we're really kind of pushing the edge of what we can do. I noticed one of the big challenges with Bitcoin is, hey, it's really hard to find good prices for Bitcoin if you're not transacting in US dollars. But as a borderless currency, we need to make it so it's fair for everyone. Someone in Mexico that wants to buy Bitcoin in their pesos, they shouldn't have to deal with a very illiquid book. So one of the order types we created is called a cross-book OCO, which allows a market maker or even a trader, an investor, anything, to say, hey, I have 100 Bitcoins, I'm going to sell it on all different markets. So I'm going to sell it in dollars, euros, pesos, Norwegian kroner, whatever it is, and we will link them all together so when they get executed, the other quantities will atomically be reduced. It's just a fancy word to say you can't get double executed. And we're always trying to push the limits of this stuff with the hope that we can provide fair, transactional services across the world. One of our core services that we do is solve this chicken and the egg problem. When a startup exchange comes to us, they will kind of start up in a region, they have no clients, they also have no liquidity. If there's no seller there, how could there be a buyer? So what we'll do is pull the liquidity from all the other exchanges in our network and seed the startup exchange. So no matter where you are, and we'll also cross with FX. So no matter where you are, you kind of launch this company, and now you have a very active system. People can come on and transact. So this is cool. I'm the one in the middle there. All the way to the left is Vadim, he's our CEO, and then to the right is Jack. I've known Jack for about 15 years. He's the one that sucked me into this death spiral hole of financial technology that I'm in now. And Vadim is a CEO that I met about a year ago. Started the company 2 years ago. Been looking for an awesome CEO. I think this was a match made in heaven because he's an entrepreneur. He's really serious about what he does. He had a great exit in the company, and he also ran a hedge fund. So I feel like we have great synergy. That's it, guys. So if you guys want to take a picture of this, you can send me an email, or if you remember, draw it out. Are there any questions?
So it's pretty clear you believe in Bitcoin as a community exchange. What's your view on it as a store of value?
That's a good question. I think right now it's a very poor store of value, but it could probably evolve into a good store of value. I'll repeat the question. He said something about Bitcoin being a good medium of exchange, but how do I feel about it being a store of value? So it's kind of like gold. Gold is the opposite. Gold is probably a good store of value, but a terrible medium of exchange. Just to kind of emphasize how good it is for exchange, Bitcoin is probably one of the only ways that you'd be able to board an airplane with $10 million in your pocket without anyone asking you any questions. But you can't do that with gold or cash. Sure, go ahead.
My follow-up question is the Bitcoin network, and I don't know a lot about it, but the Bitcoin network is vulnerable to it being cornered, right? I mean, the securities rely on the properties of a widely distributed network. So how serious do you think the risk is over time as it becomes a more attractive target for either criminals or just regular consolidation to vulnerabilities that happens to really property or others?
So, an interesting thing that we're seeing play out, and I agree with you that there are certain vulnerabilities, but it seems like the companies that are powering most of the mining network, which is ultimately the cornering and security aspect that you're talking about. They're also the companies that are most invested in Bitcoin and want to see Bitcoin succeed. So because of that, I think it's going to be very difficult for just like a criminal or like any small institution to be able to disrupt the Bitcoin network. There's a possibility that like a government could invest a ton into the efforts and they could, try to disrupt it. I'm pretty tight with like the Bitcoin core development team, and I know that there's a lot of developments going on, like what should we do if this starts to pose itself a real problem, and essentially they would change the proof of work algorithm, maybe like start to incorporate some proof of stake into Bitcoin as well. The cool thing about Bitcoin is it isn't what it is now forever, it's constantly evolving. So, we have all these altcoins that are experimenting on new stuff. I think what happens is these, like the best of all of these coins will get merged into the main Bitcoin branch.
Excuse me, we gotta wrap, we gotta give, is anybody here from RISM? All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do the economics work for your business? Who's paying you and
Sure.
fee structures?
Sure, and that's a great question. Are you an investor?
Potentially. We all.
That's funny. I don't know, I'm not. I guess I invest my time. So, I think we have 3 different classes of customers. So anyone from like a startup, very small, could be like a single individual in a company that, in a country that says, hey, I have this dream to kind of launch a digital currency exchange, to like a mid-tier company, which kind of like maybe Bitfinex, they're the world's largest Bitcoin exchange before they adopted our platform, but I would still consider them mid-tier, all the way up to like very large banks. We're having active conversations with many banks and kind of financial institutions asking, how do we kind of offer Bitcoin to our customers? What should we do? Should we be worried about it? Should we integrate? Should we try to shut it down? Like all these kind of things, right? And I think, just to be frank, we have like 2 or 3 packages right now, and then we also have like custom solutions that we develop for like larger institutions. The packages that we have now, from a startup perspective, it's a fixed monthly fee, a couple $1,000s a month, plus revenue share, about 35% of the exchange revenue that they transact. And then it scales from there. So you can lower your revenue share by paying a higher monthly fee.
Okay. One other follow-up, if I may. You mentioned on one of the slides that you're HFT ready.
Yeah, I'll go back to it.
Yeah, and also, so yeah, that slide, so you've got 1 million transactions a second.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? And then when you say HFT ready,
It's
what
2
do you mean?
components.
Yeah.
Okay, and cool question too, because this is actually the part that I'm most fascinated with also. So, like from a professional trader perspective, it's not just transaction rate that you care about, it's also the different types of orders that you can place. So there's like post-only order,
Yeah.
and what that means, it's like a market maker. So there's this like fee structure called maker-taker. I'll kind of give everyone like a very brief lesson on trading. And the whole idea is that like in exchanges, you want to try to attract liquidity. And what liquidity is orders resting on the book. So somebody can come to the exchange and be like, oh, that's a pretty good price, I'm going to buy it and take it. They're called the taker. The first person that was on the book is called the maker. What exchanges usually do is they'll actually pay the maker a rebate. So for example, like a typical exchange will charge something like 0.2% on a transaction. What we actually do is we'll pay 0.1% to the maker, right? And then 0.1% will actually go to the operator, to the venue. So the first component of being HFT ready is supporting all these awesome order types. The second component is having high transaction rate and actually having a network and an infrastructure based, or infrastructure situated in a way where they can come in and run their solution on our platform. So for instance, we offer hosting services at the data centers where we host these exchanges. They are distributed in a way, so maybe an HFT company will like rent hosting solutions from multiple different locations. High precision timestamping, I mean.
But people are placing orders in Bitcoin or for, like, what are the orders for? Is it
So.
for Bitcoin specifically? Is it the Bitcoin exchanges that are doing it, or?
Oh, no, well, these are customers of the Bitcoin exchanges.
Their customers are doing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
For Bitcoin as an asset class.
For Bitcoin, trading on their platform, right?
Okay.
Using the, the products that they're selling, which could either be Bitcoin, like in USD, or Bitcoin in another currency, or
Okay.
derative contracts,
So
like futures and
a
options.
pair, like a currency pair, but Bitcoin being
Yeah, exactly.
one. Okay.
Should see if you got a question that will break down paper and stuff.
So this is a question that I've had for some time, and spending many hours on Ventura just researching this.
I probably can't answer it.
But it's actually a very simple question. So I just want to buy a few Bitcoins, not as an investment, just to play around with it, invest in some Bitcoin peer-to-peer loans, funding ISIS or something. But how do I what would you recommend for a beginner securely buy Bitcoin? That's part one. And part two is that say I had $5,000 Bitcoin, what's the simplest step I can take to protect my store of value in Bitcoin? What's the really big benefit of that?
So there's a couple companies that I trust personally. I don't know if that means that you should trust them, but I would use these services. First, you could probably use any of our customers because I trust all of our customers, and you could either link your bank account to them or wire them money and then buy your Bitcoin. Here in the US, the easiest solution is probably to use something like Coinbase, and they're like a Bitcoin wallet. We're not affiliated with them at all, but I do trust them, and I'd say that they're pretty reliable. And you could kind of link your bank account, kind of like PayPal, and just like hit the buy button, and then a couple days later you'll see your Bitcoin. And then from a storage aspect, that was your next question, how to store it?
Yeah, how to store that. More
Protect the
value.
value.
So, well, okay, so there's two concepts of protecting value, right? So if you want to not be exposed to the volatility, you can either buy derivative contracts or not buy it at all. That would probably be the best way to not be exposed to its volatility, right? But there's there are exchanges that we're helping launch to do like options and stuff, so you might be able to kind of play that market and figure out how to protect the value. But I'm going to kind of bring it back to what I think the original question was, which is storage. The tricky thing about Bitcoin is that we all have the capability to be the custodian of the coin, unlike a bank or unlike digital fiat dollars. Like when I check my bank statement and stuff, that's in their ledger. For Bitcoin, it's a public ledger, and what that actually means is all the addresses have a corresponding private key, which is just a fancy way to say a password, right? But it's not a password that we make, like dark table 1 kind of thing. It's a password that the computer generates that's like too hard for any human to remember. It's this password that is the key to unlocking the Bitcoin to send it to someone else. So essentially what it comes down to is two things. One, when you generate this secret, this private key password, right? The device that you're generating it on has it already been compromised. So that's the first thing that you want to be certain of. So what a lot of really paranoid, nervous people like myself do is we'll actually freshly format the computer, try to make sure there's no viruses and stuff on it, and then generate a list of public-private keys, and we send the Bitcoin to those public keys, and now we're certain, at least with some degree, that these private keys haven't been compromised. Then what we could do is hook it up to a dumb printer. You don't want the fancy printers because those could have viruses on it. So you get this dumb printer, and you could literally print out your private keys. And if you're going to do this, guys, print out the private key in plain text, but also you can print it out in a QR code. So when you're going to bring it back from the computer, you can scan it with the QR code. It's a lot easier than typing in all these characters. and now it's your choice, where do you want to store this piece of paper? So now it's simply like money or a contract or something. So you can put it in a safety deposit box if you trust your bank. You can put it in your fireproof underground safe, 20 feet down, whatever you want. But now it's on you. Or alternatively, you could trust the company, like Coinbase or one of our customers, to be the custodian holder of the Bitcoin for you. I know that there's some Bitcoin wallet companies that have raised a significant amount of money. I think Zappo raised like $40 million, and it's actually $10 million for the operations and $30 million is for like insurance of that asset. So it kind of like helps people. I'm not sure if this is 100% correct. I'm kind of speculating here a little bit. So.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
There's still time people can hang out. You can come talk to Nathaniel or Joe or schmooze with each other. But,
Thank you.